The Traxxas Sledge is here, and it's a brand new 1/8 scale off-road 6S basher featuring a rugged low center of gravity chassis design, updated body and battery fastening systems, plus a 70-mile-an-hour speed rating. So today, let's check out this beast, see how fast it goes, and then bash the all-new Traxxas Sledge. The amount of choices within the Extreme 6S Basher category have never been bigger. And with the introduction of the Traxxas Sledge, we now have an open, low CG, high performance chassis layout coupled with the conveniences only Traxxas offers. Now, no surprise, the Sledge comes assembled and ready to go out of the box, and it's ready to rip once you add batteries, with 4 AA's required for the TQI transmitter and then LiPos needed for the truck. Now, at the heart of this truck, it's all about the open chassis layout and how robust it's been designed. These type of open 1/8 scale chassis are very common in the racing world and have become very popular with bashers too. So, Traxxas was like, all right, if this is what you guys want, we'll give it to you. But we're gonna do it the Traxxas way. And they pulled it off. Now, the first thing you notice with this chassis layout is just how clean and organized it looks. It's just so nice. And then you see all these blue anodized aluminum parts that make up the foundation of the Sledge construction, which consists of the primary 3.2 millimeter thick aluminum chassis plate, and it just has a gearbox attached to each end, and then there's an aluminum T-bar upper brace connecting them. Then each gearbox has more chassis braces. The front chassis brace connects to the chassis at the center at 2 points. And then on the rear, that rear chassis brace is a special triangulated brace that connects to the chassis at 4 different points in the rear. It's a lot of beefed up engineering with the sole goal of eliminating chassis flex and keeping it as straight as possible. Now, extra details for this pursuit include the flanged edges on the chassis that go from gearbox to gearbox, and then the addition of the strengthening ribs added into the chassis in the high stress areas right near the gearboxes. Another detail is how that upper T-bar is actually shaped like a T. It reminds me a little bit of a train truss, but it's shaped like that for extra stiffness, and then it keys into the gearbox housings at the end. Now, to top it off, 5 millimeter thick aluminum shock towers attached to each gearbox. The end result is one stiff chassis platform. Now, other heavy-duty areas on this truck include the 16 millimeter big bore shocks and the 4 millimeter hardware used to secure them. The front shocks are aluminum, and they're dang near identical to the shocks used on the Max, but only on the front. The rear shocks on the Sledge are longer. The truck uses aluminum hinge pin retainers front and rear with hardened steel hinge pins. A real nice addition here are those captured hinge pins used at the hubs in the front and in the rear. Now, the drive shafts going to those hubs are 5 millimeter thick and all metal. The diff out drives are all metal too. With all this power, the truck, of course, uses a full metal drivetrain. The motor mount used is also a new feature, offering a wraparound fitment to hopefully eliminate the chance of any flexing. One 35 millimeter fan mount is built into this motor mount, which is perfect for this ProTech 35 millimeter fan. But be advised, the mount holes in this mount are 2.5 millimeters, not 3. The motor used in the Sledge is the Velenion 2000 kV brushless motor, and it's connected to the Velenion VXL 6S speed controller, which features 2 Traxxas ID connectors. But if you plan on only using one connector, a jumper connector is included with the Sledge. Now, Traxxas claims the Sledge can hit 55 miles an hour with the included power system the way it is right out of the box, but only when using 6S power, which is achievable by using 2 3S batteries like these 5,000 milliamps Traxxas packs that we're using. Now, before we test our speed, it's advised to install your batteries in this new battery box in this orientation. And after you do, you need to install these battery clips so the battery box door doesn't open when you crash or on accident. The new battery box is legit, and it will 100% hold in your batteries for you as long as you use these body clips with it. The one time we forgot to install those body clips, one battery fell out. Sadly, there's no audio with this clip. Crashing on pavement like this is so hard on the car. It's really not good at all. All right, How fast is the Traxxas Sledge? Using 6S power, Traxxas claims the Sledge will hit 55 miles an hour right out of the box with no changes. The Sledge will hit 65 miles an hour by changing the pinion gear, or it'll hit 70 miles an hour after changing the pinion and the spur gear. So let's test it. Now with the truck box stock and on 6 power, we turned down TSM, puckered up, and went for it. And after a few passes, the truck was dead on the money, hitting 55 miles per hour. The Sledge uses the new Traxxas 3.8-inch sledgehammer tires. I'm guessing that's where the truck gets the name from, but those tires come pre-glued to these black wheels with a 17mm hex and wheel vent holes. Now these tires are aggressive, they have a great tread design, and they really work great in dirt. But the thing is, they have a tendency to expand during high RPMs, and especially when doing those speed runs, which makes the truck a little unnerving to drive because it wants to wander like it's on ice skates left and right. Because of this, we didn't really feel comfortable changing the gearing and going out and trying to do another speed run on that tiny road. The road is so narrow, and that sidewalk on the other end, it's just too close. Trying to do 70 miles an hour in those conditions is just not right. It's not safe. I have no doubt that under the right conditions, the Sledge could easily hit 70, probably a little more. The Sledge is no slouch, and it's no small truck either, coming in at nearly 13 pounds with its 1/8 scale footprint, compared against the Traxxas UDR on the far left, then the Sledge, then the e-Revo 2.0, the Max 2.0, and a TRX4 Sport. Because of this extra size and weight, the Sledge comes equipped with the Traxxas 2275 servo, which outputs an impressive 350 ounce-inches of torque. The servo speed is slower, but torque is great. Now for you advanced users, the Sledge has an adjustable servo saver, featuring an adjustable nut at the bottom. The chassis skid plates are 2-piece for easier replaceability. The suspension arms feature droop screw holes ready for droop screws to be added. The front and rear diffs feature 50,000 weight diff fluid, and the center torque bias drive unit features 20 million. The front shocks feature 60 weight, the rear shocks have 50. The suspension arm flex is adjustable via these plastic plate inserts, with maximum flex achieved with the inserts removed. Those arm inserts were first used in the racing world, and you get inserts made from different materials to adjust the amount of flex you want, depending on the conditions and climate you're driving in. And I'm guessing that Traxxas has some optional inserts in the works for the Sledge. For bashing, having a flexible suspension is really beneficial for absorbing the hits when you crash. And on the Sledge, parts like the arms, the hubs, and the links used on the truck are all designed to flex when you crash, like what happened here when we landed wrong on the pavement. You can see the entire front left suspension assembly is completely flexed back, but nothing broke, and the drive shaft didn't bend either. We don't recommend that anybody ramp jump their RC on paved surfaces. That is extremely hard on the car. That's an activity that's best saved for the dirt. So what's it like driving and bashing the Traxxas Sledge? Well, it's a big old go anywhere, do anything type of truck, and it doesn't really care where you drive because it is a multi-terrain vehicle. The truck is very low CG, so it's gonna hug the ground when you turn and corner hard, and it's gonna be much more forgiving to drive at high speed, which basically translates into the feeling of stability and confidence when you drive. It's a truck to just drive without worry, and it has tons of power to do it, but no wheelie bar, and it's really easy to wheelie when you aren't intending to. But with no wheelie bar, we were actually able to get the Sledge to do standing backflips from a standstill once the tires warmed up on the pavement, and it's pretty thrilling to see it do it. Now, what about any issues with the Sledge? We did have a couple of issues, and before we say them, I just want to say if this is about to stimulate your confirmation bias, let me just remind you that this is a new release of a brand new platform. It's a first gen, and sometimes there's little hiccups to work out that go along with that. Now, the first little issue we had a problem where the right rear dog bone kept popping out.
Dog bone popped out. Something break?
Okay, not a big deal. We came back to the studio, reinstalled the dog bone, and then went to our track to drive in the dirt parking lot.
Dude, why?
And immediately upon accelerating, the dog bone popped out again. Okay, what the heck? Took the truck into the pits, we inspected it, and that's where we noticed that the rear dog bone has quite a bit of freedom to move side to side inside the outdrives. And when the shock compresses, the dog bone will plunge fully into one outdrive, but remain just barely inside the other outdrive, which is why it popped out. Now, something like this is actually a really easy fix. You can just use O-rings, or in our case, we found some silicone fuel tubing, which is squishy. So we cut it into little pieces and you stuff that into the outdrive behind the dog bone. And doing that on each outdrive kind of centers the dog bone in there. And once we did that, it never popped out again. Now, what's interesting about this is that the Traxxas Sledge comes installed with O-rings in those outdrives. Traxxas has already done something to alleviate that issue, but our truck, for whatever reason, wasn't installed with those O-rings. We didn't even know they were supposed to have O-rings until we found this parts diagram at the Traxxas website, which made us feel a lot better about this issue. Now, there is one other little issue that we had out there when bashing, when trying to get the tires to balloon up really big, and they did. And we had the tire come unglued from the wheel. The tire didn't pop, it didn't rip, and it didn't tear. It literally came off the glue bead, which is pretty easy to fix. We started with cleaning out the dirt and dust, dremeling a fresh roughed up surface on the tire and the wheel bead, then just cleaning that bead with rubbing alcohol before finally re-gluing it back together. So technically, the sledge never broke, and I can confidently report the Traxxas Sledge is a very durable truck. Very durable. It's also tons of fun. And with that open chassis layout, it's gonna be really easy to do work in there, maintenance, repairs, whatever the case, it's proper. Now, this may be silly, but there is one feature on this truck that stands out the most to me, and it's the clipless body fastening system. Now, hear me out, dang it. This is a new version of the clipless body fastening system, a version that is not equipped on any other truck because they've reworked it and changed it slightly. And it is so good, not only in how fast it mounts and removes, but it never came off once. Not once, ever. It's on there when you want it on there, and it only comes off when you want it off. Big thanks to today's sponsor, AMain Hobbies, who purchased this truck for us. AMainHobbies.com is your one-stop shop for all your RC needs. They're awesome. I hear they have a great YouTube channel too. Guys, go check out the Traxxas Sledge with our links down below to go to AMain Hobbies. Or if you want more RC, check out these videos.